at my topic for this evening then, which is slightly different to the advertised title, partly because my initial title suggested we should embrace defeat and failure, and perhaps there is some level on which we should do that. But I think it's probably better to say that we as activists, and I use the term activist as well very broadly. Activism can include anything from campaigning for a local zebra crossing around a school to stopping climate change and so on, and everything in between. Activism, however small, is valuable. But my point is that in activism, failure, defeat is perhaps inevitable, and we should try perhaps not to worry about it. And in fact, actually, I suppose what I'm really arguing is that we should be more generous with ourselves about what success is. And actually, this is a kind of question that I discussed with local activists in Liverpool, actually initially some years ago. And in fact, it was something that maybe one or two people in this virtual room actually participated in at the time as well. The question I put to activists is really what it is that they value in their activism. What is it that they consider to be successful or effective, if you like, about their activism? One of the reasons for sort of wanting to explore that question is because, for most commentators and academics, success is instinctively about kind of achieving certain measurable, visible goals. Stop Brexit, didn't quite manage that. Stop the war, 2003, biggest march in British history, didn't stop that either. Just stop oil, whatever it might be. But activists themselves actually think very differently, I think, about what is successful and important about their activism. That's not to say the goals are not important, but the goals are not the only measure, if you like, of what's successful about activism. So there's 5 reasons why we shouldn't worry about it, come from the reflections of activists. So I'm not going to throw a lot of statistics at you or anything like that this evening, but just on what activists locally themselves thought about that question. So I will include some sample quotes as well within that. So reason number one, achieving goals is not the only measure of success. Now, they're crucial. I'm not saying goals are not important, as I said. They're crucial for mobilization, but there are other aspects that are important too. Developing and expressing values, challenging prevailing values, fostering a sense of purpose and community, contributing to public conversation are also very important aspects of activism, whatever the outcome of our activity. And this quote from one of the participants here kind of sums that up. What counts as success, they said. If you don't achieve your absolute stated ideal world goal, there are other things that we could consider pretty successful about what we do. Number 2, I contend, and many activists contend, in fact, that it's values that matter most. We come together, we perhaps start campaigning together because we have a goal, or we have a grievance, or we have a common interest that we want to pursue. But goals can change, and goals need to sometimes change. They can be movable and changeable, according to circumstances. And it's shared values, and developing those shared values through the process of acting together, learning what it is that we share in common, learning what it is that we agree on, learning what it is that motivates us at perhaps a deeper level, that provides a basis for ongoing sustainable campaigns and a basis for making principled decisions about how goals might have to develop or change over time. And that's, again, summarized in this quote from one of the participants in these workshops that I held here. It's more of a process that will lead to a set of values, they said, something we can use to learn to collect, to reflect collective values going forward. Number 3, participation is a good in itself. Inclusive participation in particular. Again, there's a theme perhaps coming through here about building community, about fulfillment, about collaborating with others, about all these things that are part of bringing about a thriving, active civil society. And, you know, research certainly suggests that civic associations and so on contribute to a sense of belonging and to community well-being, both for people collectively and individually. So whilst, again, this isn't to say that tangible goals are not important, they are, according to the kind of guru of community organizing, in fact, a means to an end. And the end is, in fact, people power, rather than any specific aim or goal as such. Number 4, failure. And this is perhaps where we do embrace failure. This is where we, as Samuel Beckett put it, try again, fail better. Learning to deal with failure is vital to long-term success. And this is something that every activist I think I've ever spoken to recognizes, that we need to learn to deal with it. We need to learn to, as this quote puts it, allow people to galvanize and learn to be able to deal with failure collectively. And dealing with failure is part of building that sustainable community. It's the human connections that matter, perhaps most. And then number 5, it's perhaps central, and what sometimes gets forgotten when we focus purely on the kind of material outcome, is the fact that autonomy and empowerment for the communities that are part of this is central. It's not just about perhaps meeting an immediate material need, but about fostering communities with a sense of control, self-governance, a sense of efficacy and respect. And certainly the activists that I've spoken to about this feel that it's important that we maintain that as a principle, that it's communities that should define their needs and communities that should own their campaigns, even if that's not the most effective route, if you like, to meeting whatever need or goal that it is. The fact that the community owns it is vitally important. So those are my 5 reasons. And just to summarize that, so shared goals, grievances, desires, they're important for mobilizing, but not achieving them doesn't mean we've failed. Activism, whatever kind of activism it is, however small it is, whether it's the school zebra crossing or climate change or Brexit, it can help shift the conversation. It can help change minds, and it can help give us a sense of purpose. Acting together with others is part of developing shared values and makes our activism sustainable. Its participation is a good in itself because it contributes to a thriving civil society that, through organisations, for example, like Citizens UK and so on, can also play important roles in holding, for example, decision makers to account in significant ways. And failure is important to resilience and learning, and of course, control and ownership is sometimes more valuable than meeting immediate needs. So that's it. Thank you. It's something that I'm continuing to research on. So if it's something you'd like to help me with, whatever kind of community involvement or engagement that you've done over the years, whether it's just small, fleeting, or long, deep and committed, I'd really love to talk to you. So please do contact me. I think Tim may well contact, send an email around to some of you if he'll allow me, if you do want to do that. But please feel free to contact me at any of these addresses. Thank you.